Good morning. It's John again. I'm going to play some Immaculate Grid. Did pretty well yesterday. Got a 2 on yesterday's grid. There were no teams. It was all accomplishments, All-Star Hall of Fame, that kind of thing. It did, and they incorporated a 40 war, which is kind of an interesting benchmark in there. Um, and 2,000 hits, which is also kind of an interesting benchmark. I got a 2, great score, but it occurred to me that would have been a fun one, and I did it later on my phone. That would have been a fun one to fill out people at every position. So I'll keep an eye out for that. I've also got a pack of Donruss cards here, and I'll see if I can open them up and incorporate them into the equation. But let's start sharing. Let's get into it. Bam. All right. So we've got all these teams existed in the 80s, and we got 30 save season, which is it's an interesting one. All right. Yeah. Let's let's look at, so we can't fill out position, but I'll get these cards rolling. There we go. Nice. Be able to reuse the packaging. Got more Carl Yastrzemski puzzle pieces. Ooh, here's a good one. Here's a good card. I'm gonna stop sharing. Here's a good card. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime himself. Got a Luis Rivera here. Looks like he works for the Expos and Red Sox. Kevin Ritz, I want to say he was a Rocky at one point later on. This is him after his first season. Now, this card I already had, Charlie O'Brien. I've used him a bunch of times before. Um, he hits the Blue Jays as well. He also hits the A's, so he's a pretty good versatile player. I think he might hit the Braves too. I'm trying to remember on that one. Bobby Bonilla, who would finish second in the MVP voting in the incipient season. You can see this MVP background. They had a number of cards that were like that. Zane Smith, pretty good pitcher. Works for the Braves and Expos / Nationals. Not really Nationals. Scott Fletcher. Lee Stevens. I know he'll work. I didn't know he played for the Angels, but he will work for the Rangers. And this is a rookie card. No major league record. So I don't know if he actually played in a game with the Angels, but here he is. Alex was Trevino. Apparently works for the Giants, Dodgers, and Astros. Cool. Hey, here's a pretty good one. And I saw saves was there. I didn't see all the teams, but Dan Quisenberry with the Cardinals a few years after defeating them. One of the great all-time relief pitchers in baseball. Led AL saves a bunch of years. Steve Lake, the Phillies here. He'll also work apparently for the Cardinals and Cubs. Maybe I'll remember that. Got one of the nasty boys here, Norm Charlton. I know he works for the Mariners later on. He's pictured here with the Reds. Dennis Rasmussen. Trevor Wilson, not to be confused by Brian. He comes much later for the Giants and is right-handed, has a big beard. Randy Kramer. Sergio Valdez. And we're back to Coach Prime. So keep these guys handy, and maybe I'll be able to use them. We'll see. I've already forgotten who. I know it was 30 saves. Let's see what else we got. All right, so we got the Mariners, the Dodgers, Giants, Yankees. No, Deion Sanders, he played offense and defense in football, but he don't think he ever had a 30 save season. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'll just give these guys a quick more additional look over here. Is Bonilla working there at all? No. Doesn't work for any teams on left. He did play for the Dodgers. Zane Smith not working as far as I can tell. No on Quisenberry. No on Steve Lake. Trevor Wilson played for the Giants. I don't think he had 30 saves. He had 37 strikeouts in his career as of the end of the 89 season. All right. So once again, kind of a strikeout. That's all right. It's a gimmick, but I don't think it's a particularly good one. I might just phase it out. Let's see. Let's think of some actual people who will work here. So Twins and Dodgers. We can go with our favorite speedster, Mr. Otis Nixon. Goes point 0.3. Twins and Mariners. David Ortiz was traded from the Mariners to the Twins, but I don't think he ever actually appeared in any games with the Mariners. Um, and I do know Paul Serrano is a name I've used before. I've got his rookie card, and he hit 30 home runs for the 97 Mariners. So that'll work. Thanks for bearing with me as I drink my coffee. Um, how well does Serrano work still? 2%. It's got this action shot with Cleveland, but all right. Seattle, San Francisco. Kevin Mitchell will work there, so will Randy Wynn. Jose Cruz Jr. works there. That's actually a good one. Let's go Jose Cruz Jr. Let's see how many people are right. He was a center fielder when he started his career, particularly with the Blue Jays. He was traded actually from the Mariners to the Blue Jays. So he wasn't playing center field with the Mariners because they had Ken Griffey Jr., but the Mariners had always struggled to have a good left fielder next to Griffey. They had Buhner out and right. It seemed like they have a different left fielder every year, but Jose Cruz Jr. could have been like that guy if he'd if they'd gone with him. I think they traded him for like Mike Timlin or some kind of bullpen help. Anyway, Jose Cruz Jr. Lock it in. Did play for like a season with the Giants. Let's see. Dodgers and Giants. Why don't we go with Fred Merkle? Goes less than 0.1. Love to see it. Merkle also would have worked up here. And let's see, Mariners, Yankees. I know Jeff Nelson works. Obviously, A-Rod works. That'll probably be a pretty popular one. Ichiro works. That'll also be a very popular one. Um, John Olerud works. He briefly played in pinstripes. Ken Phelps will work. Jay Buhner will not work. He was not. I don't think Buhner was ever actually up with the Yankees. Um, Tino Martinez works. Maybe I'll come back to that one. There's got to be. I feel like there's a better name, a more obscure name. Oh, Ron Vallone works. I've used Ron Vallone before. He definitely works here. He played for both teams. Point 0.3. Ron Vallone's catching on a little bit. You can tell. Point 0.3 is a yeah. It's not a nothing percentage there. Let's see. Dodgers and Yankees. Want a good one here. Kevin Brown, Gary Sheffield will both work. Um, Babe Ruth was a coach for the Brooklyn Dodgers, but not a player. Um, Ricky Henderson will work. But I want to go somewhat obscure. Let's come like I could have used Merkel here. Merkel works for the LA teams. Excuse me, the original New York three teams, as well as the Chicago Cubs. So and that's easy to remember because he had his mess up. He was playing for the Giants against the Cubs, but he works for both those teams and then the other two New York teams at the time. 30 saves, kind of an interesting number here. For the Twins, I think Joe Nathan's going to be very popular. Rick Aguilera works. I believe Jeff Reardon will work. Pretty sure on Jeff Reardon. Everyday Eddie Guardado will work. For the Yankees, Dave Righetti, John Wetland, Mariano Rivera, Rafael Soriano, um, Aroldis Chapman. The Giants, who can we name here? Brian Wilson, Rod Beck, Rob Nen, um, was uh was Will Smith the closer? Was he with the Giants at some point? I think he was. I don't think Melanson ever got to 30 saves with the Giants, or if he did, I mean, he was a disappointment. I remember that. I was living in the Bay Area after the Giants acquired Melanson. That was kind of a big disappointment. Let's try Eddie. Aguilera was closer for longer. Guardado had a couple 40 save seasons in there, so let's try him out. 10%. Okay, that's a little bit higher than I would have thought. It's all right though. Um, I think the smart money is actually going to be on Rafael Soriano. Had one. It was like right before. I think it was 2012. Rafael Soriano, who Brian Cashman didn't even want to sign, like he was pressured into signing him by management. Um, Soriano, well, Mariano Rivera got hurt. It was either in his last or second to last year, or excuse me, his second to last or third to last year. I forget exactly. I know Mariano Rivera came back strong for a final save season, 40 save season. Soriano was the closer for one of those years in there. Saved over 40 games. Takes 5%. Also would have worked here. And then 30 saves. So I don't know if there was a 30 save guy for the Giants in the 80s. Trying to think, but like Beck covers most of the 90s. Robnen takes so he actually goes from the Marlins to the Giants, free agent deal, and he's the closer from like 98 to 02. And then Joe Nathan is also around in there, but I don't think he ever gets a 30 save season. And then there's a little bit of a gap for me. I'm trying to think who the closers would have been between about '04 and '09 before Brian Wilson comes along. Um, and then I'm honestly not as up of their closest last 10 years. I was kind of guessing on Will Smith, but I think of the people I listed with any kind of certainty, Rod Beck is going to be the optimal pick. Takes 15%. All right, so it's not going to be a low scoring grid. Let's see here. Of the people, there's got to be someone who played for Brooklyn, New York, like in the earlier earlier part of the century there. But yeah, I'm kind of struggling on that. Um, I'm wondering how good a pick like a Ricky Henderson or a Gary Sheffield would even be. Kevin Brown plays his last two seasons with the Yankees. Um, sure there's, I mean, these are two of the most prominent franchises there are. So there's got to be a whole bunch of options. Steve Sachs. Let's go Steve Sachs, actually. Tribute to that Simpsons episode. 13%. Really? Was that really 13%? I didn't think it was going to be that high at all. Like I was kind of shocked, but I was not phoning it in on that. Steve Sachs at 13 is really high. Let's look at how many guys at 30 saves. I definitely did not go with optimal picks here. I'm not surprised by the people with the highest scores. But yeah, if you're looking at 30 save seasons here, ooh, Taylor Rogers for the Twins. Okay. Mike Marshall. No kidding. I was right about Reardon, Aguilera, Guardado. Um, Glenn Perkins is a man. Like this is a black hole for me on for baseball. 2013 to 15 into 16 because I was on a submarine for most of that time. So uh, I was mildly familiar with what was going on, but I was not completely up on the closer for the Twins. Was not going to get Ron Davis. I think I have heard of Ron Karnowski, but I was not going to be able to say that a guy had 30 saves. This might have been the record at the time, actually. 34 saves in 1970 might have been a record for that time. Because saves became an official statistic right around this time. And for a while there, the record was it was in the 60s. You had guys getting 20 and 25 saves, and that was the record. I talked a little bit about the evolution of it in my book, the save record. All right. So that's the Twins. Um, David Robertson came out with 39 saves in 2014. Good for him. So I got Soriano. Steve Farr with 30 saves in 1992. And Rigetti did get to 30 saves. I know he didn't have 30 saves the year he won the Cy Young Award, but he did have 35 in 1972, which also might have set a record. And then for the Giants, man, these are a lot of guys. I was right about Will Smith. I forgot about Sergio Romo. I should be able to guess Sergio Romo. Well, I associate him with being more of a middle relief guy, but Tim Worrell, I forgot he was in San Francisco. And you'd have to go back to Greg Minton, but I was never going to get Greg Minton. All right. Cool. This is the surprising one. There's 207 picks, and I picked the worst one, apparently. That's a popular Simpsons episode. That's what that means. Homer at the bat, one of the best Simpsons episodes of all time. Let's see. What's a better one that I could have gotten? Did not know Granderson would work. I thought like Henderson would be more popular, even though he only played his final season. Let's see. We got a lot of people I've selected. Ooh, Paul Wainer, I knew. Yeah, he kind of is pretty obscure for his time with the Yankees, mainly known with the Pirates, but I knew he hit those other teams. But actually, yeah, it's kind of surprising how few Doyle Alexander I knew. Oh, John Wetland played there before playing for the Expos. David Wells played there, which I did know. All right. Well, not my best showing here, but still 9 out of 9. Um, and it was baseball, so it was fun. And I'll be back at it tomorrow. Maybe I'll do another one today. We'll see how the baby feels like cooperating. But in any event, thanks a lot for playing. Peace.